How many of you know what a reprobate mind is? A reprobate mind is a biblical and psychological term that describes a state where a person has become morally corrupt. They are spiritually blind and unable to discern right from wrong. The phrase comes from Romans. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. So in Scripture, a reprobate mind is the result of rejecting divine truth for so long that a person's moral compass becomes inverted. They begin to celebrate evil as good and condemn good as evil. God doesn't force people to do this. He allows them to follow their desires until their conscience no longer functions properly. Psychologically, a reprobate mind can...
And when that happens, Israel, that's when you open portals or gateways to demons to attack you, because they know that you are no longer serving the Creator and you're doing things and going your own path and doing your own direction. You open the door for demons to come in to attack you when you're led to a reprobate mind.
Be compared to a narcissistic or sociopathic condition where empathy and guilt and being self-aware are all suppressed. A state of moral decay where people continue to use self-justification and they keep turning away from the truth. They start to rationalize evil behavior as normal or even virtuous. Think about this, folks. How many motivational videos have you seen out there where the message is to love yourself? I mean, that sounds pretty good on the surface, right? But what is that message? What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what it means for a lot of people. For a lot of people, that means be selfish. Now, I know that is not the message people intend to push, but that is the message people will receive because they don't know how to interpret that other than being more selfish, focusing on themselves more. Symbolically, a reprobate mind represents the fall of consciousness. When a person's spirit loses control of their ego, they lose control to the shadow, the carnal mind. It's the inversion of divine order. They become trapped in a material illusion and cut themselves off from source. In alchemy, it's like the lead that refuses to be turned into gold. Truth is mocked, lies are praised, violence and greed are glamorized, gender, morality, and identity become fluid to the point of confusion. And this is also when technology replaces spirituality as the new God. A reprobate mind is a mind that forms a rebellion against reality and separates itself from the higher truth. If you reject the light long enough, you begin to love the darkness.
Cancer treatment was hard enough, but the Bard Power Port made it harder for some, causing clots.
I want to tell you guys a short story, if you don't mind. It's a tale from old Slavic Christian folklore called The Man Who Couldn't Hear the Bells. Now, a long time ago, there was a small village surrounded by dark forest. And in this forest lived a man named Vasily. He was clever, charming, and loved by everyone for his laughter and wit. But Vasily had one flaw. He despised humility. He mocked the monks who prayed. He laughed at the peasants who gave money and food to help the poor or those in need, and said that men were gods unto themselves. Every Sunday, the church bells rang through the valley, calling people to worship, but Vasily would cover his ears and say, "I will not bow to something that I cannot see." So as the years passed, Vasily became wealthy. He built a large house overlooking the village, which was filled with silver, wine, and guests who praised his boldness. And when a priest came to bless his home, Vasily refused. He said to the priest, "Bless yourself. My fortune came from my hands, not your prayers." Now later that night, lightning struck the old church, a steeple, and cracked its bell in half. And the sound that once echoed through the valley fell silent. Vasily laughed and said, "See, even heaven grows tired of singing." But from that day on, something changed. When people spoke to Vasily, their voices sounded faint, as if they were underwater. And as Vasily looked at his reflection, his eyes seemed hollow and darker each day. But he told himself he was merely tired from work. One winter night, while walking home, Vasily saw a figure in the snow, an old beggar shivering under a tree. The man whispered and said, "Please, sir, help me reach the monastery before I freeze." But Vasily sneered and replied, "Get up, old fool. The world owes you nothing." And so he left the beggar to die and went home. That night, Vasily had a dream. He dreamed he was standing before a blackened church. No bell rang, no candles burned, only silence. And when he looked up, he saw the same beggar standing in the doorway, but now clothed in radiant light. The beggar spoke and he said, "You no longer hear the bells because your soul is deaf. You have traded mercy for pride, and you have chosen silence over song." When Vasily awoke, his ears were ringing, but it wasn't music. It was the shrill sound of madness. It was the type of ringing that only comes from deafening silence. Because of this constant silent ringing in his head, it drove him mad. And over the following weeks, he lost everything. His crops rotted, his servants fled, and his once loud home became still. He ended up wandering the village, crying that the bells were screaming in his head. And one evening, the villagers found him at the ruined church, striking the broken bell with a rock, weeping and shouting, "Ring again, I can't hear you anymore." But the bell never sounded, only the echo of his own blows. When dawn came, they found him collapsed beside it, his face peaceful at last, as if he had finally heard the silence he created. Now, folks, the point of that story is that when a person repeatedly rejects truth and virtue, their mind becomes given over to moral deafness. They can no longer hear or see what's right, not because truth vanished, but because their heart no longer recognizes it. When the bells stop ringing, it's not heaven that went.
Also means that the Creator's given up. He's given up on you. And we all know we don't want that. We don't want the Creator to give up on us. That's what that means. The Creator give up on us. and hand you over to the enemy, because he already led you to a reprobate mind.
Silent, it's you.
My daughter cares for me, and it's been so easy since she's been getting paid $2,500 a month. She finally
Stop ringing. It's not heaven that went silent. It's you. Folks, look around at what's happening today. What we're seeing is the gradual, deliberate cultivation of the reprobate mind, not just in individuals, but in entire societies. This is not an accident. The systems that shape our thoughts, the media, social media, education, entertainment, technology, right? These things are constantly training people to call darkness light and light darkness. Every time a movie, ad, or trend celebrates selfishness, vanity, or moral confusion as some type of freedom, the collective conscience gets a little duller, or should I say, the bells grow quieter. Think about it. Empathy is being replaced with outrage. Community is being replaced with competition. Humility is being replaced with self-worship. All because a few knuckleheads are up on TikTok talking about how they are going to start stealing food if they don't get their SNAP benefits. We now have a bunch of people talking about how they don't want their tax dollars feeding these people. And you know what? I don't blame them. But you know what's happening as a result of that? People who are receiving SNAP benefits are watching these people say how they don't want their tax dollars paying for their food, how they should go out and get a job, and how they should just starve. And so some of these people on SNAP benefits are snapping back and saying how they already have all this food stored away anyway, and they don't care if you have to go out and pay for your food with your own money when grocery prices are going to go up anyway.
I am a food stamp recipient, and I hope everybody knows that after this government shutdown and when all the food stamps come back, I can't wait to make a haul to make all of the maggots angry, okay? Because I am going to be buying candy and junk and soda and all the things, $200 worth. I don't even care, because screw you. Screw you for thinking that we shouldn't get good things in life, that we shouldn't even have food stamps because of the people who abuse it, okay? Like, it's funny because of the fact that
those that does that, Israel, are the main ones get upset and get mad because you put your business on social media, not knowing that these people that work at DHS or SNAP sees these videos and then wonder why your snaps get cut off or deduct some of it off because you're bragging about the things that you have, what you buy, and you are bragging about what you're going to buy instead of just keeping quiet, staying on the down low, and do the things that you have to do to feed your family.
we don't have food stamps for November, and I'm completely fine. I have so much meat in my deep freeze. I have so much food in the food pantry. I have so much food that me and my kids are going to be fine. But it's literally just the principle that you don't even care about kids starving. So, yeah.
So just when we thought we couldn't find another thing to divide us as a society, here we go. And folks, do you know what you are not hearing much of? You're not hearing much of people recommending that you go out and help those in need, are you? Out of all those videos, I've only seen one or two videos where people have said to go out and actually help other people out with food. Ladies and gentlemen,
so if you are between the ages of 50 and 85 and you want to have all of your...
Ladies and gentlemen, We've built a culture where people are told to follow your truth instead of seek the truth. And that sounds empowering, but in practice, it's a psychological trap. Because if truth becomes whatever you want it to be, then there's no such thing as right or wrong, is there? No higher standard, just emotion and preference. And when that happens long enough, people stop hearing the inner bell that warns them when something is off. Their moral compass no longer points north. We see it everywhere, the glamorization of violence in entertainment, the normalization of deceit in politics, the elevation of image over integrity. Even compassion is being redefined as tolerance for anything, even what's destructive. It's like we're being programmed to lose our ability to feel genuine conviction. We're taught to be nice instead of good, successful instead of wise. The mind becomes numb, just like Vasily's deafness in that story, unable to hear the sacred frequency of truth that still resonates in the world. Technology has made this easier than ever. Algorithms feed people the illusion of choice while slowly shaping how they think and what they desire. It's digital hypnosis. Every swipe, every click, every new dopamine hit dulls awareness just a little more. The more connected we become online, the more disconnected we become from the divine, from that quiet space within where conscience speaks. People no longer see it. They don't even recognize what's happening because the reprobate mind doesn't feel like corruption, right? It feels like enlightenment. It feels like progress. But you know what? The soul knows when something is wrong. That's why so many people are restless. That's why so many people are anxious and spiritually starved, even when they are surrounded by comfort. Oh, the bells are still ringing, but they're hard to hear. They're ringing beneath the noise of constant distraction, and only those willing to be still can hear them. If Vasily's story were told today, he wouldn't be a man in the forest. He'd be someone scrolling through his phone while the world quietly loses its sense of wonder. He'd be the someone who laughs at faith, mocks virtue, and calls compassion weakness. He'd be the person who covers his ears, not with his hands, but with the noise of endless stimulation. He would be the influencer telling you to love yourself first, no matter what. Cut off anyone who doesn't serve your energy. Protect your peace at all costs. Don't let anyone tell you what's right or wrong. Live your truth. Do what makes you happy. You owe nothing to anyone. Never apologize for who you are. If it doesn't serve you, let it go. Self-care above all, right? You've probably heard all those things, right? And all this social media wisdom sounds positive on the surface, right? But when you peel back the layers, much of it is rooted in ego reinforcement, self-worship, or some type of moral relativism rather than genuine growth or compassion. Most of these phrases begin as noble ideas, right? Self-love after abuse, boundaries after some type of trauma, confidence after some type of shame. Folks, only those who have wisdom will understand what I just said. But without context, and when you keep hearing this stuff repeated endlessly by influencers chasing likes, it all turns into doctrines of self-absorption without you even realizing it. They teach people to worship their feelings instead of mastering them. They turn the ego into the moral compass, which is exactly how the reprobate mind takes hold. And when the silence finally comes, when the world around us collapses and the screens go dark, only then will we realize what we've lost. The sound of the bells, the voice of truth, the music of the soul. That's the tragedy of the reprobate mind. It's not that God stopped speaking, but that people stop listening.